Please remain standing for the playing of our national anthem and invocation. Chaplain Major General Stephen A. Scheich, the Air Force Chief of Chaplains, will now deliver the invocation.
Good morning. I invite you to join me as I pray. Loving God, Dietrich Bonhoeffer once wrote that it is only with gratitude that life becomes rich. And so with grateful hearts, we begin this historic occasion. Thank you for the little girl who learned big lessons on the family farm. Thank you for implanting in her soul early in life a passion for integrity, service, and excellence. And wow, are we grateful for that late night hike up our rocky Phoenix Trail that netted our honoree a majestic sunset and a husband. Thank you for Craig and all the ways he has and will continue to complement the life of our Air Force's 25th Secretary. And so, gracious God, our prayer for Barbara Barrett is simple. We pray you go before her, that she may follow in your steps. Go behind her to steer her when she strays, and go beside her as her strength and joy for the journey. This is our prayer. Amen.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, General Goldfein.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome on this beautiful November day for the ceremonial swear-in of the 25th Secretary of the Air Force, Barbara Barrett. And I want to thank so many who made this ceremony possible, from our wonderful hosts here at USAFA, to the world's greatest defenders standing guard, to the incredible band who bring a touch of class to every ceremony, and to the magic makers of the protocol team and staff that pulled it all together on the tail end of a very successful Corona, or now known as Snow-Rona. And to the many cadets we've met throughout the week that really recharge our batteries with their enthusiasm and their passion to join the long blue line as servant leaders. To begin, we're honored to welcome back Dr. Heather Wilson, Secretary number 24, and her husband Jay and daughter Katie, to where it all began. Many of you know that Secretary Wilson and I were classmates here, starting with the class of 1982. And I often joke that one of us graduated in just 4 years, went on to be a Rhodes Scholar, earned a PhD, was elected to Congress, and went on to become the president of a university twice. And one of us didn't. Ma'am, welcome back to Big Blue. And thank you for joining us today to welcome your successor and your good friend, Ambassador Barrett. Also gracing us today is Senator Cory Gardner. Thank you, sir, for your leadership and your continued steady advocacy for the greatest treasure in our nation's arsenal, the soldiers and the airmen who call Colorado home. So while today is all about our Air Force and the swearing in of Ambassador Barrett, it's also a day to reinforce that service in the Air Force always has been and always will be family business. Because there are many family members and friends of the Barretts who have flown in for a twofer. First, to witness this time-honored tradition here in this spectacular Polaris Hall focused on building leaders of character. And second, watching us crush a poor defenseless Army football team who I have intel, I'm told right now, is struggling with very little oxygen, and they're used to those warmer East Coast temperatures. We have them right where we want them. And a special welcome to Dr. Craig Barrett, former CEO of Intel Corporation, that partnered with our cadets to produce the most spectacular nighttime drone display I have ever seen this week. Fireworks will never cut it again after seeing 500 drones in perfect formation. At the initial swearing-in ceremony at the Pentagon, shortly after we learned that the Senate had confirmed Secretary Barrett, Craig pulled me aside and told me, quote, "Remember, I'm only sharing her with you. When this is all done, she comes back to me." Yes, sir. But thank you for joining your bride on this journey. And I will tell you, Dawn and I look forward to working closely with you in the months and the weeks ahead, because this really is family business. So as I mentioned, we just completed a very successful Corona week discussing the challenges and the opportunities as we face the work to transform our Air Force to align with the national defense strategy and the growing threats around the world. And yesterday we wrapped up with an executive session with all the MAGCOM commanders and spouses, and with my wingman, someone I believe is the best Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force in our history, Khalith Wright. And I shared with the leaders, now as I welcome my third secretary, the most important attribute I value for building a relationship of trust with our senior civilian leader. It's a pure heart. I was blessed to work with Secretary Wilson and never once had to question her motivation or her passion. It was clear to everyone she had one driving desire: do what's right for the nation, for the Air Force, and the airmen entrusted to our care. And over the past few months, as we waited confirmation, Dawn and I have had a chance to get to know Secretary Barrett and Craig. And I want to share with you a few initial observations. First, her resume is perfectly aligned for this position. This week I had the opportunity to introduce her to the cadet wing and share a little bit of her bio. And I want to let Secretary Norquist go through that, but let me just say, it is extraordinary. We won the lottery again. Second, she might be the kindest and most thoughtful person I've ever met. After she officially took the helm as the 25th Secretary of the Air Force, she walked alone to Arlington National Cemetery that day, to Area 60, the final resting place for so many of our service members who made the ultimate sacrifice fighting for us in faraway places like Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria. She walked those hallowed grounds alone to reflect on the importance of her new responsibility and allow the gravity of her role to sink in. And third, she's a leader who will demand performance. It was not lost on us this week when a briefer would mention that something would happen shortly or quickly. Secretary Barrett would lean forward and ask quietly but firmly, "So what exactly does quickly or shortly really mean?" Exactly the kind of intensity we need in our secretary. Ma'am, message received. And finally, she deeply cares. In every interaction with airmen, you can see the passion and the energy she exudes when shaking the hand of a defender or listening to the story of a young cadet. Our airmen have no better friend than our new secretary. As senior leaders in our service, we have lots of obligations, but there's one that's nothing short of than sacred duty. Each of us who are privileged to hold the title of senior leader, which is a gift, by the way, that's offered by those who we lead, has an obligation to ensure that every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Coast Guardsman that we send into harm's way is properly organized, trained, equipped, and courageously led to compete, deter, and if deterrence fails, to fight and win. And we have to take care of their families while they're gone. Everything else we do the best we can. That is our mirror check as senior leaders, and we have to get it right. Madam Secretary, I speak on behalf of 685,000 active Guard, Reserve, and civilian airmen when I say we look forward to the journey ahead and the chance to work for and learn from you as we take our Air Force to greater heights. Welcome to our Air Force. And now it's an honor to introduce the presiding official for today's ceremony, and another leader with a pure heart that we're blessed to have leading during these turbulent times. Secretary David Norquist has over 30 years in federal financial management. He began his career as a Presidential Management Fellow and a Program Budget Analyst for the Department of the Army. So today may be a bit difficult seeing your old service go down in flames. If you'd only put more money in their athletic department. In 1997, he became a professional staff member on the House Appropriations Committee before returning to DOD as our Deputy Comptroller. And in 2006, he became the first Senate-confirmed financial officer for the Department of Homeland Security. Following some time in the commercial sector, he returned to government service as our Comptroller before being sworn in as our Deputy Secretary of Defense in July of this year. We are privileged to have him guiding us towards irreversible momentum in the National Defense Strategy with a force designed to win. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our Deputy Secretary of Defense, the Honorable David L. Norquist.
Good morning, everyone. I should note that while I started as an Army, I went to the University of Michigan, who played Army earlier this year and won in overtime. So we'll see if you guys can achieve this a little faster than my alma mater did. But I hope you all also recognize the symbolism of this morning's ceremony. The chaplain spoke from up there. The general and I speak from down here. So each of the endorsements of your new secretary are at the appropriate level from which they come. But on behalf of Secretary Esper and the entire Department of Defense, thank you for joining us today as we swear in the 25th Secretary of the Air Force, Barbara Barrett. It is also an honor to have with us today Senator Cory Gardner. Senator, thank you for being here, and thank you for your unwavering support for the men and women in uniform. We are also excited to have Dr. Heather Wilson among our distinguished guests. Heather, it's always good to see you again. And as the former comptroller, I'd be remiss if I didn't point out my predecessor, Tina Jonas, who I have worked with, and it's good to see you as always. We are thrilled to welcome Barbara's husband, Craig, her siblings, and the rest of her family. Today is a very big day. Thank you all for being here. Barbara Barrett brings to the department a wealth of experience that spans from academia to law, from business to diplomacy, and from space to aviation. I learned that Barbara first developed an interest in aviation as a child, after she accompanied her father on a four-seater aircraft flight. Her father took her and her siblings flying so they wouldn't be afraid, and it worked. Barbara has remained unafraid throughout her career, which she dedicated to advancing our knowledge of air and space. Barbara is an instrument-rated pilot who even completed training to go to space. Under the Reagan administration, she served as vice chairman of the U.S. Civil Aeronautics Board and as deputy administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration. Later, she was a civilian advisor to the Secretary of Defense as a member of the Defense Business Board, and she has championed the advancement of women every step of the way. In fact, her advocacy on the Defense Advisory Committee on Women in the Service played a critical role in the Pentagon's 1993 decision to allow women to fly in combat aircraft. As chairman of the Aviation Corporation from 2013 to 2017 and a member of the RAND Corporation's Board of Trustees, she has been at the helm of several premier organizations that conduct research and provide national security and space-related expertise to the military and beyond. She was named honorary commander of Luke Air Force Base in Arizona, and having worked with the Air Force for most of its existence, she is intimately familiar with the diversity of the service's programs. Barbara's character has remained unchanged throughout her role in life, from her mastery of aviation to teaching at Harvard's Kennedy School of Government or serving as the U.S. ambassador to Finland. She embodies the integrity, competence, and leadership the Air Force needs to ensure our airmen are ready for tomorrow's battles. The Air Force plays an important role in expanding our competitive edge over adversaries in this era of great power competition. To effectively implement the National Defense Strategy, each service must adapt to a new strategic environment defined by near-term security threats from Russia and long-term challenges posed by China, in addition to regional threats across the globe. For the Air Force, this means maintaining our air superiority and making greater investments in the modernization of our conventional and nuclear forces. It means assembling the best minds in space and cyber to address our vulnerabilities and lead the way in these new war-fighting domains. It also means standing up the Space Force to prepare us to fight and win in space, which is something Barbara considers a key imperative for her new role. Much of our success will depend on the recruitment and retention of experts and leaders who know how to build institutions and are passionate about executing this important mission. Barbara is, without question, the most competent person to take on each of these challenges and lead our airmen with the integrity and diligence that has enabled the Air Force to dominate the skies. Our 24th Secretary of the Air Force, Heather Wilson, laid the foundation for the Air Force to implement the National Defense Strategy. Today, our 25th Secretary of the Air Force, Barbara Barrett, will take the Air Force to new heights to dominate in air, space, and cyberspace for decades to come. Barbara, through confirmation, President Trump and the U.S. Congress demonstrated their complete confidence in your ability to support our airmen, lead our Air Force, and maintain the United States' air dominance. Secretary Esper and I look forward to working alongside you on behalf of the world's strongest fighting force. Thank you for your willingness to serve and to always aim high.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as Deputy Secretary Norquist administers the oath of office to Secretary Barrett, assisted by her husband, Dr. Craig Barrett.
I state your name.
I, Barbara Barrett,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of which I am about to enter.
of the office of which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you so very much. Melissa. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Secretary Norquist, for your kind introduction and for traveling from D.C. to officiate and host today. I'm indebted to the President for his trust and confidence, and the United States Senate for their confirmation, including Senator Gardner. Thank you so very much for being here with us today. General Goldfein, Chief Wright, and Air Staff, I am fortunate indeed to be joining an exceptional team of leaders. To my husband, Craig, from our first meeting atop Paiestoa Peak to the Here in the Shadow of Pikes Peak, thanks for being my hiking buddy and for our 40-year journey. This unique occasion is all the more special because we're joined by the 24th Secretary of the Air Force, Dr. Heather Wilson. You chartered a superb flight plan for the Air Force's future, and I intend to follow it. Special thanks to our former Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Jim Nicholson, and Suzanne. And I think I see the class of 1935 or 2035 in the front row, but wearing a West Point t-shirt, that looks like to me. Thank you so very much for being here. A friend and a leader who I admire, Jim Nicholson. It's not by accident that we gather at Polaris Hall at the Air Force Academy for this ceremony instead of the steps of the Pentagon. Here at this venerable institution, entrusted to mold the future leaders of the United States Air Force, Polaris Hall is a monument to character and leadership. The oculus above us points directly to Polaris, the North Star, true north. Pilots distinguish between magnetic north, which changes, and true north, which is constant, enduring, unchanging, solid. Polaris has guided journeys through human history, and even now Polaris serves as a reference point for precise navigation. The United States Air Force is enduringly guided by its core values. It's Polaris. Integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. These unchanging values represent our Polaris. And guided by the core values, the United States Air Force is the best in the world at what we do, defending our nation in air, in space, and in cyberspace. Regardless of where the next conflict occurs, we will be called first. Air Force C-17s may carry special forces to the far reaches of the globe, with KC-10s refueling them along the way. When these troops reach their destination, combat controllers will be embedded with them, providing tactical expertise and directing the B-52s and F-35s overhead, protecting American forces on the ground. At the same time, Air Force UAVs will be in the air providing vital, real-time intelligence, and all of this will be enabled by space assets. These airmen will come from across the total force. There will be reservists and guardsmen flying and fighting next to their active and civilian counterparts. There will be one commonality. They will each have an American flag on one shoulder and an Air Force patch on the other. And there will be one constant, the Air Force core values. The airmen who wear our nation's uniform are our greatest asset and treasure. We have no greater charge than to develop and care for them and their families. The men and women of the United States Air Force have earned the confidence of our nation. We know that it is ready, resilient, and capable of defending America. And as we share the light from the oculus in this room, I look to Polaris. I pledge to do my best, guided by the core values, as I do my part to organize, train, and equip our United States Air Force. Thank you. Go, Air Force.
Please rise as the official party comes center stage. In celebration of our new secretary, please join us in the playing and singing of the Air Force song. This concludes today's ceremony. Thank you for attending, and we wish you a pleasant day. Go Air Force, beat Army.